morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking. Get your questions in. We're only a few days away from game day, guys, against UTSA. Of course, Sark met with the media yesterday. Any takeaways from that, fellas?
Yeah, a lot, I think. And, Sark was upbeat. Now, he's never negative, but he's usually pretty even keel. I sensed a little upbeatness, I guess, a little pep in his step after coming off that win, because I think that he recognizes what that win means, not just for this season, but for the program in general. A couple of notes that I took away, and I talked with CJ about this immediately following the press conference. Sark is really happy with where Quinn Ewers is right now. And that says a lot because Sark is hard on quarterbacks, very hard on his quarterbacks. There was a scene in that first game against Colorado State where he took Arch Manning aside after a misread and really Sark can be hard on his quarterbacks. So when he starts giving them praise, it means they deserve it, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And so I was excited about that. He only had a couple of small things he wanted to improve. He mentioned the handoffs and the misdirect, the issues in the red zone on a couple of different plays. He mentioned the early procedure penalties. But really, I think that the head football coach at the University of Texas, 2 weeks into the season, probably couldn't be more pleased with his defense right now, particularly the secondary, Jerry, and also his offense, not only his quarterback, but how his running backs have answered the call after losing Cedric Baxter, how Gunnar Helm and Juan Davis have stepped up at tight end, and the transfers, Matthew Golden and Isaiah Bond, are filling that role, that void that Texas so desperately needed to fill from a year ago. I just think that right now, Steve Sarkisian's, I don't want to say cloud nine because I don't want to go on that roller coaster, but he's definitely feeling it a little bit right now, and he should because Longhorns beat Michigan pretty soundly.
Yeah, I would say this about Sark. Last year before the season, he had a different level of confidence. He ended up being correct.
Yep.
And I saw even more of that yesterday than last season. Does that mean he's going to win a national championship? No, it's 12 teams. It's hard to do. It's going to be harder than ever to get it done. But you know what excites a coach early on after 2 weeks of a season is when you execute at a high level. When you see improvements in areas you thought you needed to improve from last season. After paralysis by analysis season after season is what these guys do because they're chasing perfection. That's when you get really excited is when you see a team that's bought into what your message is. One, they have the hunger because you always want, even though I think this staff knew this was going to be a really good team to coach because they almost climbed the mountaintop and they didn't get there. And that leaves a sour taste in your mouth, but also the taste of almost being able to get there. That's really a good team to coach. But I think the message has been a resounding one. You get excited if you have good leadership. You get excited if your team's bought in. And then you get excited if you go on the road early in the season and execute at a really high level on both sides of the ball. That's the reality. And I want to say this too. I actually had a chance because I've been traveling and on the move. I actually had a chance to watch the game back for the first time last night, about 10 or right around there. I can't remember, 9:30. And I want to say this. Texas was definitely the more physical team on Saturday, and Michigan was not. It's not that Michigan wasn't physical. And I'm here to tell you, Michigan's defense is real. I don't care what all the people are saying now. Michigan's got their issues on offense they're going to have to work through. But that defense, I think, is about as good as advertised after watching it back. I mean, they're a bunch of NFL players running around on that field. Those D tackles, the edge players, there's some depth on that front that's NFL players. Texas attacked the middle backer, who's a really good downhill player in coverage. They attacked one of the DBs in coverage. But Michigan's defensive talent's real. The only way they don't have a really good season defensively is if their culture erodes quickly and the thing blows up. They're too talented on defense. They're too physical. They're too good up front. That's a legitimate defense Texas went up against. So I wanted to see on the rewatch, had they fallen off defensively? I don't think they've fallen off defensively. There's a reason Fresno had 9 rushing yards the week before. Texas executed extremely high level. I want to say I thought that was Hayden Connor's most physical football game since he's been at Texas. Most physical game on contact since he's been at Texas. Cam Williams is going to be a real problem for opponents as he continues to get comfortable as a starter. I'm just here to tell you, a real problem.
Hey, Jerry, thanks for that. I want to say a couple things. A couple of guys in the chat. Patrick Page has been a long-time viewer of this channel. I want to say congratulations to him. Says, celebrated my 45th birthday yesterday on September 9th. What a weekend. My Longview Lobos won. Texas won big in Michigan, which I called it over the summer and would happen. Good for you. And those Cowboys took care of business, including DeMarvin and Overshown. Good there. Then also Jack Lala. GM, good morning, and Hookem from Rainy Krosnow. That's Poland. I just got an individual message, guys. Jack is making it over to Austin for the game this weekend. Hope to meet him either out at the co-op on our Friday afternoon deal or at the tailgate at the game on Saturday. Here's the other one that I wanted to mention. Chuck Jones, enjoying Dunkin' coffee and blueberry donut holes. I just want to say this. The Dunkin' coffee I can take or leave. Blueberry donut holes, they have a little special place in my heart. Just gonna say that. That's the first time anybody's mentioned blueberry donut holes. That's maybe the bane of my waste's existence a little bit.
Well, Sark wasn't the only one to meet with the media yesterday, guys, as UTSA head coach Jeff Traylor did as well. And here's what he had to say about the Longhorns.
Speaking of along those lines about Texas, you guys did play there 2 years ago, so you kind of had a little bit of experience of the stadium there. But what are your thoughts on this game this week against them?
Oh, the biggest difference is we were a veteran team back then, and they were kind of in transition a little bit. Now they're very veteran, and we're kind of in transition right now. So that's the biggest difference. We always mark how many really great players they have in their 2 deep. And usually each team has 3 to 6, that are really great. These guys have backups that are really great. Like the whole sheet's marked with great players. They've done a fantastic job in the transfer portal, developing their kids, developing their roster. They're massive. They're extremely fast. It's the best team we've ever played since we've been here.
I thought that was important to play for everybody. We played it last night and again this morning because I've known Jeff Traylor for 2 decades. I used to go to Gilmer High when he had all the players coming out of Gilmer, Curtis Brown, David Snow, you name it, guys that went everywhere, multiple guys that played in the NFL. And he's always been one of the most genuine coaches, high school or college, I've ever met. And so when Jeff Traylor says something like that, that's not coach speak. That's not firing up his team. He's just being real about it. And that I thought was about as good a compliment as Sark in his program build could be given, because Jeff Traylor knows a lot of those kids. He's they offer those kids early before they blow up. But he's also been at Texas. He's also knows where it was. And so that's coming from a perspective down the road, an hour away, that follows what's going on in the recruiting world, even the guys that are going to Texas, because you got to know those guys for the transfer portal back nowadays. So you got to do your homework. You got to be aware of where all these kids are going in the state and how good they are. But the development and the ascension of the Texas program, I thought Jeff Traylor's a very genuine guy. It's what makes him really good. And for him to come out and say that, Bobby, I mean, that's a huge compliment to Sark.
I think so too, Jerry. And I want to add this. The second part of it, this is why I wrote on Texas football this morning, that it's kind of my editorial that I start the day with, He also talked about Texas being an experienced team. And, if I missed anything about this team this offseason, this may be the piece that I missed. I considered Texas experienced enough I didn't consider them highly experienced. You know what I mean? Like experience would be a huge difference maker in this team. I knew they had Quinn back for a third-year star. I knew 4 of the 5 offensive linemen. But if you think about it, tight ends are new. I mean, even though Gunnar Helm played a lot, all the receivers are new to Texas. Cedric Baxter gets hurt, so the running backs have less, tread on the tires. And then the defense, they only returned 5 starters. And so I was thinking, Texas is a marginally well-experienced team going, if that makes sense, right? Heading into the year. But then I think about it, and I think particularly on defense, you had Trey Moore, Jermaine Lole, Bill Norton, Andrew Makuba on defense, right? Those are guys that started for their teams last year. You had Matthew Golden. You have Isaiah Bond on offense. Those are 2 starters for their teams a year ago that are now starting for Texas. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, I thought Texas was decently experienced heading into this year. Now I'm buying a little bit of what Jeff Traylor's saying about Texas being more experienced. And I think I know very well that experience helped and in front of 111,000 people.
Yeah,
on Saturday. And so Traylor, he's right. He's right. If I discounted anything in this offseason, maybe it wasn't so much experience, but how those guys and the chemistry that Texas had with bringing a Trey Moore or Bill Norton or a Lole or a Makuba would play out, or even a Bond and a Golden, Jerry, because at one point we didn't think Golden was going to start. How that has it's brought even more experience to the team, and now it is an elite experienced team. It's not just a somewhat experienced team. And I do this for a living, so I take the L on that. More experience than I expected, and I think it's showing that. And furthermore, I know we're going to talk about this later. I think all of us agree there's still more guys waiting in the wings that can, we think this, as we enter the second quarter of the season after this UTSA game, there are more guys waiting in the wings getting ready to step up a little bit too. So Texas is not done in this team, but the experience certainly better than I had given it credit for. And I take the L on that.
For the chat, for what we're going to close out the show today, talking about which players could improve the most on this team this season. So be thinking about that. Which players, in your opinion, can improve most as the season goes on? Because this is what I think makes Texas so intriguing. I think there are a number of guys who are going to ascend on the field this season who are just scratching the surface of what they can become.
Hey,
and I think that's
here's
what gives
the guy right here.
That's one.
Yeah, Jelani McDonald is one. I agree with you, Jerry. I think there's just guys. It's like Traylor said, right? They got guys that be behind the guys. That's what's happening right now.
I mean, you know how much confidence Texas has in where Jelani McDonald's headed as a player? He's playing nickel and safety. They're putting more on his plate, and he doesn't have a lot of game experience. They're putting a lot on his plate now, so their confidence in him is growing quickly. And by the way, Andrew Makuba was tremendous Saturday.
Oh, yeah, he was
tremendous game.
Phenomenal.
I mean, I make fun of Dabo because of his portal BS, but Makuba was on a national, one of the top programs in the country for 3 years. He knows what goes into winning. He understands, and he comes to Texas, and he brings that with him. And that's invaluable to Traylor's point experience. Even more than the experience on the field, think about the big games Makuba's played in. He's played in a lot of meaningful college football games. And there is pressure that comes with being at a Clemson program because of the expectations. So he knows how to handle that.
All right. Before we move on, I did see a super chat that I wanted to go ahead and knock out real quick from Jerry's Jack Links. Thank you, as always. And he says, Jeff Traylor is my favorite coach. Hope to get him back on staff in some capacity someday.
I think after he is He'll probably get another head coaching job. Then he'll probably, retire, I would think. I mean, look, he's doing, 40-15 at UTSA. They're a little more inexperienced this year. So what if he has an 8-4 or 5 type season there? I mean, so that puts you at 47-20-ish. Up for a P4 job after this season. Really, really, really good football coach. Multiple state championships, multiple conference championships at UTSA, which hadn't done before. Pretty good stuff for Jeff.
Okay, guys, before we move on, I need to let everybody out there know about HelloFresh. And with HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. And with summer in the rearview mirror and football season ahead, now's the perfect time to save time and money when it comes to your dinner routine. You can skip the meal planning and grocery store lines with HelloFresh's convenient doorstep delivery and pre-measured ingredients. Guys, life is busy, real busy. That's why we all use HelloFresh. They do a great job of making it so fast and so simple that it works great for us to fuel up for football season. And I promise it'll work great for you as well. And here's the best part. They're going to hook y'all up with free breakfast for life. Yes, free breakfast for life. All you have to do, just go to HelloFresh.com/freeontexas. You're going to receive 1 free breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life just by going to HelloFresh.com/freeontexas. And that's HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. All right, well, let's jump right back into it. Recruiting obviously going on, a lot of excitement surrounding that as well, and rightfully so. Jerry, what you got for us?
Well, while I'm talking about recruiting, we're going to play Elijah Barnes's 2-game huddle highlights for the season. Hide the children. This is how it's supposed to be done. Elijah Barnes, I was by Skyline earlier in the season, 6'2 3/4, about 239. In our industry, one person once called him a stiff. I don't see that on video. I see a tremendous football player with wiggle at 240 pounds. That was a very bad evaluation. But on the recruiting front, Javian Hilson, we broke it on Texas Football yesterday, that Javian Hilson is likely to visit for the Mississippi State game, the 4-star edge out of Cocoa High. And by the way, there's people in the chat asking, why would Texas take a 3rd edge? Will that affect Lance Jackson or Smith or Rogbo? Look, I don't think it affects either one of those guys if Javion Hilson does end up wanting to go to Texas. But Bobby, but before I get moving on the other stuff, your thoughts on Elijah Barnes?
Jerry, this goes back to last year with you and me. That looks like an SEC linebacker. Yeah. If you draw them up with weight on their bottom and weight up top so that they can actually hit people. When they hit people, they go down. And so that when they take on those big, massive human beings, they can actually hold the point of attack and not give up a hole. That's the reality of it. So I'm a big fan of Elijah Barnes, really big fan. Didn't knock the guy back. So what Benda did to the Michigan offensive lineman on Saturday. If you have the pop and you can do something about it, you're just a very, very, it's what Texas needs. They need these plus size athletes. What you talked about yesterday, Jerry, I thought was really intelligent. You were talking about how Texas is getting these bonus size guys that also have speed and athleticism, whether that's Barnes or Lance Jackson's another one that's in that category. He's like 6'5", 275, but still quick and fast. Jonah Williams fits that as well. So I hear you. Josiah Sharman-Meyer and Charles, good athletes for their size. Future's bright for Texas.
I tweeted out some clips of Lance Jackson from early in the season. Tremendous. I think he's going to join us Wednesday night for the live stream, by the way, if you're around, if you want to hear from Lance. I'm going to be putting out some Smith or Rogbo highlights coming up. I'm going to see if Blake can pull up Nick Townsend's highlights from the Port Arthur Memorial game while I'm talking about D-line recruiting, because Nick Townsend looks like a freak on Friday nights this season. I'm just here to tell you, man, wow. But on D-line recruiting, as I think, okay, y'all watch Nick Townsend. He's the guy with the 7-foot towel running behind him really fast. Here he is, 76-yard catch and run against Port Arthur Memorial. This is not a slow team, guys. Nick Townsend looks like the 235-pounder running 10-9 here. Fully automatic time. I mean, Bobby's going to be drooling in a second. But Nick Townsend is a stud. But on defensive line recruiting, look, Javian Hilson likely to come in September 29th weekend. I believe Myron Charles and Josiah Sharma could also be in that weekend. I don't think it's out of the question of Chase Sims from Richmond Randall committed to A&M. He could be in that weekend. Texas is going back. I've told you, I'm not sure Texas is done offering guys in the secondary and D-line. I think Floyd Guidry looks tremendous on senior tape from spring. Texas is going to bring in Joseph Mbachtu this weekend from Grayson, currently committed to Florida. I don't think that'll last. Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, everybody's on him. There's another play coming up here on Nick Townsend that's just extremely impressive. Here's what I will say about Texas. What I really like about this Texas recruiting class is what Bobby mentioned. Jumbo athletes with speed. Okay, this is going to be a second play that Nick Townsend, who says he's 238 pounds right now, so he's probably 235 because that was 3 weeks ago, that Port Arthur Memorial doesn't catch him. Bobby, I mean, you put that guy at tight end and he's physical with the linebacker physicality, and he's wearing it. That's going to be one big Texas towel running down the field in the SEC at tight end.
You're not going to get me say anything other than what I just got after, and that's that. I love how Sark's recruiting. I love the personnel he's recruiting. I love the type he's recruiting. And you know, Jerry, it ties into something that you mentioned. Like, I think it's great that Nick Townsend is fast, for example, right? But fast without physicality, it doesn't matter to me, right? These guys also have physicality. And if I had to tell you beyond the quarterback play and the offensive imagination that Sark has brought, I think the physicality of Texas has changed over the last 10 years. Now, Charlie Strong preached physicality, and so did Tom Herman. Here's the problem with that. They didn't necessarily follow that up with the personnel, particularly on offense. And Sark is doing that on offense and on defense. He's getting guys, running backs that don't go down when they're first touched. He's getting receivers that are willing to be blockers that don't go down on first touch. Of course, the offensive line, you know what I'm talking about there. But look, speed is great. Speed and physicality and quickness is what wins football game. And those are the type of guys. You talk about Jonah Williams in that category, Jerry. I mean, is there a more talented, speedy, physical football player? I mean, it's just, look, if you're not excited about Texas and what they've got in the 2025 class, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't, because it's exciting.
I didn't mention this one, but Burn Orange. Okay, I'll get to that one and I'll answer Burn Orange Horn's question. Like, I think you're muted.
I was just bringing this up from Seth. He said he saw Khalid Lockett play last Friday, along with his catching abilities, was impressed with his blocking.
Yeah, no, Khalid Lockett is he's a young kid, still 17. He's going to end up being a 200-pound guy. He's probably 175, 180-ish right now, probably in that area code. But he isn't. So sometimes those guys, when they're younger, they may not look physical on the field, but it doesn't mean they don't play physical, if that makes sense. Khalid Lockett plays physical. He fights for the football. He'll play in traffic at the receiver position. He's a willing blocker. No, absolutely. I mean, Khalid Lockett is, and that's the thing about him and Jamie French in this class. Jamie French is about 185, but both those guys are going to be 200, 205-pound receivers. a year and a half into a college strength and conditioning program at Texas. They're both physical players. There's no doubt about it. Now they just have to kind of grow into that or develop into that with their frame so it can really take over at the next level. But yeah, Kalika Lockett, tremendous hands, tremendous body control, great length, catch radius, plus. And he is a physical football player, no doubt about it. Burn Orange Horns asked about Walter Mathis from Savannah Calvary, who I think is one of the best D tackles in the country, period. He committed to LSU last Friday. I do think there's a chance that he still gets on campus. We'll see what happens. A chance. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. It's a chance.
On campus at Texas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. He's a stud. That dude's a freaking stud.
Well, guys, we got a ton to talk about. But first, I want to bring up a couple of super chats. Get those knocked out of the way. Henry James BC, has Michigan rehired Connor Stallions yet?
Bring this photo up.
I'm bringing it up. Go ahead, Bobby.
No.
There's some OTF members with Connor Stallions on.
I love
it. Troy, thanks for sending this pic in, bud. Yeah, Connor Stallions was there for the game, and I think a couple different folks wanted to get a picture with the old Michigan analyst, if that's the best word for him.
And
I don't know, man. I'll tell you who may want to look at hiring him is Oklahoma about now.
One other super
looking for a little help
from UT Tyler Guy. Thank you, UT Tyler Guy. He says, Bobby, great to see you again at the Surly Horns tailgate. Lee Corso can kick rocks by picking Michigan after I met him at the Detroit airport. I thought Corso picked Texas, though. Maybe I'm wrong.
He picked Texas to win the national championship.
I think I remember him putting on the old Bevo head.
I was not there. I couldn't see that, obviously. I was at the event, so I don't remember what Corso did. I like Lee Corso. I do not care who he picks for a football team, other than it makes for good fodder on message boards, I guess. But he's one of those guys that does his stuff. I will tell you this: Lee Corso. We can say what we want about whether or not he's still with it as far as football is concerned, because I think his style of football got passed up about 20 years ago. He is just in somewhat very similar to Dick Vitale. He's very good for the sport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's good for the sport because he's good-natured, fun-loving, promotes it. And I think everybody that talks to me about Lee Corso privately, has always said he's a good guy behind the scenes. So guys like that, I have an incredible amount of respect for, because they are simply good for the sport itself.
Totally agree. A funny Dick Vitale story. I was at IMG for a football practice a few years ago, and he popped in. He just showed up to watch the football practice, lives in the area, and just an awesome guy to talk to, and literally just came out and wanted to watch IMG football practice. I thought it was really cool. Great dudes, man. They're really good for college sports.
All right, we did get confirmation that he did indeed pick Corso. The whole chat weighed in on that one, so we're good there. And then I thought there was one. Nate, you put in a super chat, but we don't have a question or comment attached to it. If you will just send that in normal, I will make sure to take care of that for you. Now then, Jerry Hamilton, can you tell us about Manscaped?
Yeah, I certainly can. Hey, UTSA fans, turn away. This isn't going to be good for you Saturday. Fellas, do you want your grooming routine to be a one-and-done deal? Well, the days of using the same trimmer for your face and your private parts are over, thanks to our friends at Manscaped. They've come up with the ultimate package to keep your hairs trimmed from 12 to 6, introducing the Beard and Balls bundle featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 and the Beard Hedger. Hey, Manscaped, make the 9.0 for Texas this season as they go on the road. A trimmer for the moneymaker and another for the boys downstairs. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code ONTEXAS, all caps, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with code ONTEXAS at manscaped.com. For the premium grooming experience, trust Manscaped. First up, it's your balls' new best friend, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Say goodbye to endless passes. This trimmer gets it right the first time, cutting through the bushiest of bushes effortlessly while being gentle on the skin and your delicate places. And you know what else the 5.0 does? It ends 23-game home winning streaks. Next.
You are something else, Jerry Hamilton.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
boy. Hey, Papa Horn has a question. Let's get to real quick. Was there ever an explanation for no flag called on UM for hitting Quinn when he took a knee? I think they thought it was somewhat incidental contact and not forcible, like heavy contact. It could have gone either way. It could have gone either way. But I will say this. The Michigan players at that point in time, given the fact that Texas was once again in the red zone, they were getting pretty chippy. They didn't like getting their you-know-what handed to them in their own house. Whatever. It's no longer the big house, I don't think. You got to call it something else, right?
Hey, was the worst call of that game the non-pass interference on Trey Wisner on the route early in the game where the Michigan DB literally hit him a second and a half before the ball?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's the one I'm like, how did you not? I mean, maybe was the ball tipped and I missed it on two watches?
No.
Then that's the worst call of all in that game. That's like so blatantly obvious. That was the one that I was just like, what?
That and the Connor Williams holding call, or Cameron Williams, excuse me. Those two calls led me to believe that the refs might be a little in favor of the blue on Saturday because they both came in the first period. Right,
Yeah.
Jerry? And so
Yeah.
I agree with you. That's where is Texas going to have to beat the referees too?
I mean, on the Cameron Williams one, I couldn't see the right arm. So I don't know on the second watch, Bobby or you or Rod, I don't know if y'all talked about that, but I couldn't see the right hand arm on that one. But still, come on.
I thought Cam had his arms extended and the guy was falling. The guy was falling.
Yeah. Okay, so yesterday, well, I guess it was Sunday actually, ESPN updated their FPI. We talked about Texas being number one in those rankings yesterday, guys. But another thing that we didn't discuss is, according to ESPN and their FPI, the Longhorns currently have the best chance to win the national championship. Texas with a 20.9% chance, followed by Ohio State at 17.2%, Georgia 16.6%, Alabama 15.3%, and then round out top five, Tennessee 6.8%. ESPN also gives the Hornets the best chance to win the SEC with a 35.7% chance. Everybody already saying rat poison, but what's y'all's take on this?
My take on this is fun. The team, all 85 scholarship players aren't listening to this saying, yeah, we're going to win it all. I mean, so we're just having fun with this. I think this team's pretty focused. And I don't think Sark would be this confident as he is if his team wasn't focused. So we're going to have fun with this. I think it's because Georgia has a brutally tough road schedule is factoring into this. If Georgia starts chipping, if they win at Alabama, look how that percentage is going to change. This stuff's going to change throughout the season. But Texas just had a huge win at Michigan. Look at Georgia's schedule. And I'm not talking about Kentucky. I'm talking about at Alabama, at Texas, and at Ole Miss. I mean, and that's everything that's factoring into this. But again, Bobby, SEC dominated.
Well, 6 of the top 7 teams in the country are from the SEC right now.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen one team dominate the rankings that much. I mean, 6 of the top 7 teams. They've got to beat each other up a little bit in conference play, right? I mean, that's bound to happen. The one thing that is true though this year, they don't necessarily have to beat each other up as much because they don't all play one another anymore. And not that they did, but they had 8 conference games with only 14 teams. Now they have 16 and still have 8. So the crossover is not that big, but man, 6 out of 7 teams in the top 7. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've never even thought that way. And you know what? And this is the thing. I actually do think that they may be right. You know what I'm saying by that? I think that they actually may be right, that 6 of the top 7 teams are in the SEC right now.
Hey, by the way, so this is a good. The chat's moving so fast. SEC's 5-6 against Power 4 teams. I think that is what's interesting about that is it's maybe depth of league. So I mean, Mississippi State lost at Arizona State. They didn't look really good. They can't stop the run. A&M obviously lost at home to Notre Dame. Forward pass was an issue. You look around, so some of those losses, I mean, Kentucky lost to South Carolina last week, so Power 4 game. But at the top, I think the top half of this league, and LSU lost to USC, obviously, the top half of this league is legit good. Legit.
Just beat the defending national champs 31-12. Georgia beat the you-know-what out of Clemson, who's still in the top 15. So what do you want? Auburn lost to Cal too, Jerry. That was the other one. I just think that, we can hem and haw about it. And I can tell you right now, Texas fans would probably be aggravated if they were still in the Big 12. But I wouldn't want to play Tennessee right now if I were Michigan, because you'd probably lose again.
Yeah.
So I'm look, 6 and 7. That means you could literally finish 6th in your conference and be in. It's just unheard of for me. Unheard of. You're 6th in the Big 12. You're 35th in the country. I'll just put it that way. You ain't number 6 or 7.
Morgan Hale. Unfortunately, injuries are part of the game, and whoever's healthiest in November is my favorite to win it all. A lot of merit in that.
I agree.
What does the team look like now versus November for all these teams ranked really high health-wise, and how that can impact your season? 100% truth in that.
Well, the next thing that we're going to talk about this morning, we've had a lot of comments about Colin Simmons, and he was actually one of the highest graded true freshmen by PFF for week 2. In fact, he had the 3rd highest grade with 83.7. Y'all's thoughts on his performance overall?
I mean, he's just got such great BGO. He's so twitched up. He's such a natural edge rush guy with his bend and his feel for it. He also studies the game, though. You don't get to where he has just on talent, and he studied the game. Obviously, he's worked out with Micah Parsons. People have seen that. He's scary. His future's really scary. I mean, I don't know what else to say. And he's picked up enough to where they could play him at Sam Backer and drop him if they want to. His future's really, really bright, guys. I don't know what else to say.
He's a freak show. That's what I think. I mean, he's got more power than you realize too, Jerry. I know that most of what we saw on Saturday was the loop around the edge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He actually whipped through a guy a couple times too. What I liked about it is how many snaps he played. He played 21 snaps on Saturday. That's a lot for a true freshman. He and Ryan and Wingo, by the way, played the most snaps for Texas as true freshmen. Both played 21 snaps on Saturday. I think Colin Simmons will give Texas eventually. I'm not saying right now, but he gives Texas a true difference maker at edge, so long as he keeps improving, working hard, and doing everything he needs to do. He is going to be a special player. There's no doubt about it. He's got a natural feel for pass rush, along with what Jerry talked about, ball get off, athleticism, all that other stuff. He's got a natural football instinct for it. It's impressive. Alex January also saw a lot of time. Hey, who would have thought 2 games into the season that the person who has the most rushing attempts for the Texas Longhorns at this point, true freshman Jarrett Gibson. He led the team in rush attempts on Saturday too.
Yep.
So a couple of true freshmen coming up and playing in roles, not to mention Michael Kern, et cetera.
And while we're talking about PFF, I want to jump over to the super chat from Spence GPT2. And thank you, Spence. He says, can y'all describe how PFF grading works for a quarterback? Do NFL coaches look at average PFF over a season or big game result PFF grading?
I have no clue about PFF grading and how it works for college football or pro football. I just haven't studied PFF. Rod Babers would know, and CJ Vogel would know. So if you're on a chat later and I'm on there with Rod or CJ, I'll remind them and ask them that very question.
And real quick, if you Google PFF grading explained, the first result is from PFF. and it says all you need to know about PFF grades. So you can go in, Spence, and read a little bit more about it as well. All right, Bobby, before we move on, I'm going to let you tell everybody out there about the good folks at Autograph.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited about what they've got going on right now. Being a fan is a full-time job, so Autograph does the heavy lifting for you. From tickets for big matchups to breaking news, the Autograph app has curated content for fans of all things Texas, all the podcasts, articles, and game predictions you could ever want, including on Texas football, all in one spot. Use code ONTexas to download for free on Google Play or the Apple App Store today. I want to also add this. They are giving away a free Vince Young jersey following the game on Saturday. So as soon as the game's over, they're going to raffle off essentially a free Vince Young jersey for those that sign up for this app. You have to use like 25 of their coins, fan coins, to be there. And we'll see how that goes. But long story short, Autograph wants your business. Use referral code again on Texas to enter for a chance to win that jersey.
And thank you, Bobby. And obviously, Autograph does all kinds of teams, including those in the SEC, which is going to lead us to our next little segment here. Let's take a look at the SEC upcoming games this week and kind of want to get y'all's take on these games. It's some interesting ones for sure. I think a lot of Texas fans are going to be watching that Tulane at Oklahoma one. But what's y'all's thoughts in general?
Man, that's a pretty good slate, in my opinion.
Yeah, the first 5 for sure. I mean, right? That's Alabama first road test at Wisconsin. They turned it over against USF, but then turned on the gas late in that game. Ryan Williams, absolute stud freshman. Bobby, LSU lost their top defensive tackle for the season against Nicholls State. Now they go to South Carolina, who has some confidence. Nussmeier's going to have to come up big this season for LSU.
Yeah, I mean, look, if LSU loses that game, I mean, South Carolina looked surprisingly good against Kentucky. Kentucky looked surprisingly bad.
Ton of injuries for Kentucky, but yeah.
Yep, BC and Missouri. That's a big one because BC's coming off kind of smarting after that win over Florida State. Missouri has not, from what I've been told, has not looked as good as ranked by some people. You mentioned Tulane, Oklahoma. The big one for me, though, out of all of these, is A&M, Florida.
Yeah.
That is such a telltale game. Lagway is starting for Florida, I believe. It could be, if Florida loses this game, bye-bye Billy Napier. I don't think there's any way he's coming back from that. Okay. I don't care if Lagway starts every game and wins 5 or, whatever they get. I mean, it's just bye. They can't handle that because A&M has already treaded through a new coach, and their new coach goes to the swamp and beats them in year 1. That doesn't pass the smell test, right? For fans. That also being said, if A&M goes over there and loses,
that's a big one.
Yeah, that is the old. I don't know about this new coach we got here, guys. He may not be ready for prime time. And I know it's early, but a coach doesn't need that on his back early in his career, and it can happen and will happen. The other one that I'm actually looking for a little bit forward to, and no, Georgia. It's not even Georgia, Kentucky. Jerry, it's Vanderbilt at Georgia State. Where is Vanderbilt really at? Georgia State's not a horrible team. They have good athletes. This is a team. Georgia State's a team that Vanderbilt 50% of the time would have lost to in previous years, maybe 75% of the time. So is Vanderbilt actually going to be a decent team this year? They're going to win 5. They're going to win 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they got the quarterback to win 5 this year. I think that's the thing. As long as they can keep him upright in the SEC. I think the other thing, the A&M Florida is interesting to me. I think Graham Mertz is starting, but they'll play both.
Oh, I thought Mertz was out.
No, he was out last week in concussion. I think they cleared him. So Napier said he's going to start him. I think he said that yesterday at his press conference. But I think we see both Somebody said in the chat, A&M struggled stopping a run. Mike Elko commented on that in his PC yesterday. A&M has not won an SEC road game since Elko was the DC. By the way, that's a long time. But I think it's it's damn near a must win for both teams because your season could go sideways. Well, it's a best win for Billy Napier. Maybe not both teams. It's a must win for Billy Napier. If he goes 0-2 against Miami and A&M at home to start the year, he won't be coaching in Austin. I think we know that. But A&M, you don't want to start this thing 1-2, then come home lacking confidence. And Bowling Green, who took James Franklin to the wire, then Arkansas and Dallas, who with Bobby Petrino and his motorcycle and Taylor Green can score enough points. They put up 600 yards on Oklahoma State last week. That schedule starts to look a little different for A&M if they lose this game. Both teams need to win this football game, but only one will, obviously. Billy Napier needs to so he can keep coaching as the head coach of the Gators. A&M needs to win this game, I think, for confidence purposes as the season moves along and to have the type of season under Mike Elko in year one that the A&M fan base expects. Because if A&M loses this game, it starts to look a lot tougher.
Well, let's jump over to the questions, and we got loads of them. They are rolling in. The chat is very, very lively today, to say the least, guys. And we're going to start here with a super chat from MP Houston. Thank you, MP. He says, good morning. Are Notre Dame and Brian Kelly looking at each other right now like a drunk divorced couple in a bar thinking about getting back together? Don't do it, girl. He's just going to leave you again.
That's pretty funny.
That sounds like a country western song. Our Notre Dame and Brian Kelly. I think there may be some honest truth to that, unfortunately, for both parties. Look, Notre Dame was 28.5-point favorites over Northern Illinois. It's one of the top 5 biggest upsets in like 10 years or something. I don't know what else to say. And it's not like they don't have a quarterback. It's not like they don't have a running back. They just may not have an offense. Mike Denbrock is a good offensive coordinator, Jerry, at Notre Dame. They just overlooked Northern Illinois. Overlooked them. Did not perform well in the red zone. Tough stuff.
And by the way, people in the chat, I noticed some people, I hope that doesn't happen this weekend. I'm not worried about that. I want to say something about the Texas UTSA game to kind of piggyback off of that. It's you're never going to be as high emotionally if you're a team for an opponent, a UTSA or ULM coming off a game at Michigan. But this is where a fan base can help bring the emotion out of a team. I challenge all the Texas fans. When the team gets off the bus on Bevo Boulevard 2 hours before the game, be there. Congratulate them on beating Michigan, beating and defending national champs, breaking a 23-game home winning streak, breaking the longest winning streak in college football. I don't care if it's the same team or not. It's the same damn team defensively almost. They lost a couple of Sanistril and Rod Moore got hurt, but they're really good on defense still. This is where fans' job is as part of a team and part of a program as well. You can bring the emotion out of these guys Saturday night in DKR. I truly believe that because there's no way, even though this team is focused and I think they're locked in, there's no way you can be just humanly possible on the same emotional high Saturday night you were in Ann Arbor. It's not human. It's just not possible. We see it in sports all the time. That's where fan base has to go. Show up, support, be there, pack Bevo Boulevard when the team gets off the bus. You know what that would do for that team? If twice as many people showed up down there when they got off the bus as normal, you know what that does for a team and the emotion of a team? I think it's underrated. I'm just here to say it.
Our next super chat from Sonny. Thank you, Sonny. In the spirit of Scooter Monzingo, there are some great names on this team like Jermaine Lole, who has the perfect soccer chant, Ole, Ole name.
I look. I don't know if there's any. What are the best names on this team, Jerry? You have one that you like?
Well, I mean, everything that rhymes with Quinn has come through the chat by Sandman in the last 2 weeks. So
it may be Quintavious or Quintravious with Trey Wisner. How about that? That may be the big one.
Zena,
big, long I don't know if the bubble sheet on a Scantron he could fill it in. Too many letters.
Yeah.
That being said, he can be called whatever he wants and write whatever he wants if he keeps playing like he is, because he's playing balls out right now. That young man, he plays. Sark talked about in the offseason. He's just one of those guys that's a baller.
Yeah,
that's what he is.
Our next super chat, fellas, this one comes from Nate. And Nate, thank you for going back and putting that in. But he wants to know, where's Amari Nyblack been at the tight end position?
He actually saw some reps, mostly in the third and fourth quarter. He's gotten knocked off the ball a couple times, both against Colorado State and Michigan. His physicality, if he's going to be an inline player, has to match what Texas wants. Texas is clearly utilizing Juan Davis more in that H-back role because Juan Davis is willing to do whatever with his body to help Texas win. There was a 3rd and 2, and I posted this on TexasFootball.com. There was a 3rd and 2 inside the red zone where Juan Davis was the lead blocker, and he literally turned a Michigan defensive tackle to his side on a straight ahead block. Okay. Juan Davis is doing his job. Amari Nyblack has to be that kind of physical if he wants to play more, because you're not going over the top of Gunnar Helm right now. Gunner's too much of a reliability factor, in my opinion, for Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, I do think one of the things we'll see in the next couple of weeks is the Silas Boldens, Amari Nyblack, some of these new players get more integrated into the offense.
Yeah, they'll weave them in. Weave them in. Hopefully.
Then the next super chat comes from Tex Beats. Thank you as always. He says, Buenos dias, familia. Hook 'em. Thank you for that. And then Slick Rick, thank you, Slick. He says, moving Barron to corner has opened up the secondary. I feel good about the Georgia game. Sark also said that he loves the physicality of the team, bringing up Wisner. Bobby said it yesterday. These boys have a purpose, and they're on a mission.
Big believer in what they've done in the secondary overall, not just with Jahdae Barron, but Jalen Gilbo has kind of been a glue guy.
Yeah,
back there. I think he leads the team in tackles right now, guys, through 2 games. And he is tackling quickly once they get the ball, even in space. There was one play where Michigan hit a crossing route, Jerry. And how bad did crossing routes hurt Texas a year ago? Like killer, right? Especially early in the year. Jalen Gilbo saw it, and actually the pass catcher ended up losing 2 yards on a crossing route, because Jalen Gilbo sent it out. Then you had Andrew Makuba, who's playing smart, Derek Williams, Michael Taft. We know smart players. I just think they're a smart, cohesive unit right now on the back end.
Good stuff. Ron S., we appreciate you. And he says he appreciates listening to Coffee and Football every morning. Great information, guests, and team.
Thank you so much, Ron. We appreciate it, man.
And then our next one, fellas, comes from Bryson. Thank you, Bryson. We got to get those Sooners out of this conference. LOL. Going to make the SEC look bad when they lose to Tulane by 17.
This is a huge game for Oklahoma offensively. It's coming up Saturday against Tulane.
Hey, Blake, do you have that tweet pulled up that either Jerry?
I tweeted it out this morning. It was CJ posted it on Texas Football, and I turned it into a tweet this morning. But this is a huge game for Oklahoma offensively Saturday, because if they don't build some confidence Saturday, Tennessee's not going to care if they don't have confidence the following Saturday. It's going to be a physical butt kicking if they don't get some confidence offensively Saturday against Tulane.
Tulane went to Kansas State, gave Kansas State a game, right?
Yes, but they were up in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but ended up losing it. But this is unbelievable. Jerry, read that if you don't mind.
Oklahoma Sooners had 12 drives. This is per CJ Vogel. He posted it on TexasFootball.com. He posts a lot of nuggets over there. Oklahoma Sooners had 12 drives versus Houston. One gained more than 35 yards. Final 8 offensive possessions: punt, 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 INT, punt, missed field goal, punt, punt. And if you slide down, you'll see who was the reporter on that. Slide down the tweet. That was Jim Cantori in the eye of the storm. So yeah, that's not a good day, Bobby.
Best offensive possession in their last 8. Only one of them went over 35 yards. That's not a functional offense against any college team, much less the Houston Cougars, who gave up, 35 or 40 to UNLV the week before?
I mean, crazy thing about that game, UNLV gained more yards against Houston than OU the week before. UNLV went to Houston and won 27-7. Now, Barry Odom's a damn good defensive coach. UNLV gave up less yards to Houston than OU did as well.
By the way,
they got 1 week to get it together, and then it gets real on that schedule.
Yeah. Their total offense ranked 108th. Their rushing offense ranked 79th. Their passing offense 109th. And their third down conversion percentage 131st, which is only ahead of Kent State and Jacksonville State.
Couldn't happen to a better program.
Oh, man.
But hey, you know what? You've seen weird things happen in this series. You know, you walk into Dallas and they decide to throw Michael Hawkins in there to make some plays in the second quarter of a game. And, you know, you just never know what happens. But for the Oklahoma Sooners right now, they better get some confidence Saturday, because Tennessee's not going to care the week after that. Tennessee's got a veteran offensive line. They've got a top 10 pick that's one of the best edge rushers in the country, and a defense that's physical and pretty fast.
Just the dude with the super chat. He says, buy or sell. Arch's playing time takes priority over Quinn's stats for Heisman.
I don't do the buy sell thing, but because I don't necessarily think they're. I think there's a way to get Arch playing time without worrying about Quinn's stats. But I definitely think. So I think you can do both. Like Quinn's playing time, you don't need to force Arch's playing time. Excuse me. I think you need to make it happen naturally. I think Quinn has already got his statement win early in the season. His stats will come throughout the season. I truly believe that. Yeah. Arch's playing time will come throughout the season. Now with Quinn, since he's a front runner, it's about Texas continuing to win. That has nothing to do with Arch's playing time. Texas just has to continue to win, okay? And then he has to come up big late in the season with a big game. That's what has to happen. Don't worry about how much Arch takes away this or that or whatever. Quinn needs to – he's going to have to win a big game, whether that's Georgia, whether that's at A&M, and
Oklahoma.
Texas playoffs. But Oklahoma is a given. They have to win Oklahoma. He's not. It's one of those. I think it has to be. He's got the early season win, which puts him on the radar and establishes him. Now he needs to carry it out throughout the year, and then he needs the statement to end the game that sways the voters for him over another player who's going to have a good year too, another 2 or 3 players.
Lee Burke, you put in a super chat. No question or comment attached to it. If you'll put it in normal, I'll be on the lookout. We'll get back to that one for you. And
I think his super chat was, we need a Colt Monroe super chat.
No, Colt Monroe's currently at the dentist, then he better be at school. Johnny Epps with the super chat. Thank you, Johnny. He says, Helm leading in receiving yards, Gibson leading rushing yards. Wow. In the beginning of the season, who would have ever predicted that? Hook 'em and let's keep dominating. I don't think anybody would have.
I did not have either of those. I think that even, and I'll say this, Gibson leading in rushing yards would have been more likely than Helm leading in receiving yards, right?
Yeah. Well, especially after Baxter went down. Yeah. I mean, look, and I think Gibson could go over 100 in this game Saturday. UTSA is really struggling. They're young in the wrong spots. They're struggling to stop the run. And I could see Jarrett Gibson having one of those 11 for 105 type of games, his first 100-yard rushing game Saturday. It wouldn't surprise me, Bobby, at all.
I look, how about a 12 or 15 carry game to take some of the weight off of Jaden Blue and Trey Wisner, who you want to keep healthy. You don't want them getting dinged up heading into SEC play either.
Yeah. Hey, I want to answer this one from Derek real quick, if I can. Jerry, who's the running back visiting Michigan last Saturday, kept bragging about how Sark uses running backs. Probably Javian Osborne from Forney. I went and saw him before the season. In August, I was by Forney High. I thought Texas, Michigan were probably the top two for him, and he was back in the big house for that game. I think he'll be in Austin pretty soon for a game. Really good player, really good junior running back, one of the best in the country.
Before we move on to these next set of questions, guys, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everybody out there about the good folks at Duck Camp.
Yeah, absolutely. It will do. Duck Camp is one of our key sponsors. You can see this hat I'm wearing. I love these hats. Duck Camp is gear made for the people that live for the moment out there, where there are fish to catch, birds to hunt, time to kill, football to watch. They like doing all that stuff. So they built a company centered on it, based in Austin and dedicated to giving people best-in-class hunting and fishing apparel. There are those of you out there that look forward to the opening day of hunting season, the kickoff of Longhorn football, with the fervor and excitement of a 5-year-old on Christmas morning. Duck Camp is here to let you know that from opening day to game day, they've got you covered. And opening day can be hunting season or football season. They are really excited about what they've got. One of the things I want to mention, I've been wearing this hat. It's actually this one that they have. They call it a color called heathered clay. It is very good and it matches all my Longhorn stuff that I've got as well. So check that out on their website. Again, duckcamp.com, duckcamp.com. We appreciate their sponsorship of On Texas Football.
Thank you, Bobby. And we also want to say thanks here to Dante as he put in a super chat. And he says 2024 Texas is a far superior team compared to last year's team. Analysts agree that Texas is for real. However, I get the sense that doubt still exists due to our history. Do y'all share the sentiment?
Man, I think it's a TBD, like to be determined for me. I don't get a sense about the history thing anymore. I'm getting close to being over that. Now I think it's just about Texas executing, Dante. I talked early in this broadcast about how Texas is a more experienced team than I expected this year. I kind of discounted Texas's experience somewhat stupidly, I think. And you know, Texas brought back or returned 5 starters on defense, but when you count the guys they brought in from the transfer portal, they brought in multiple year starters from other teams that actually give them 9 returners on defense. They had 8 returning starters on all, or 7 returning starters on offense. That's an elite, experienced team. And I think that probably gives Texas more upside than what people thought, and it may make them a superior team, even though they lost 2 elite receivers, a good tight end, a great running back. I mean, the number 1 running back picked in the NFL draft, and he had an ACL tear. I mean, Jonathan Brooks is pretty darn good. But Sark, he's got this program headed, and I mean, it's just, I sound like a broken record. It's just headed in the right direction. I mean, just jump on board because I think the train is moving.
And I want to say this too. It doesn't mean undefeated.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Nick Saban from 2008 to 2023 is the greatest run in the history of college football. I think he had 4 undefeated regular seasons in that time. Only 4 from the greatest run you'll ever see in the history of college football by one coach at one school. Hard to do. So I think the main thing is continuing to recruit at the level you are. If you drop a game, if you end up 11-1, not the end of the world. Really good teams, really good schedule. Doesn't mean Texas is going to be favored in all, maybe but one game, but it doesn't mean undefeated. I mean, that's the thing I want to say is It's harder. It's difficult. I mean, just the number I just threw out about Saban. That's how difficult it is. And I know it's changed a little bit because that SEC West, every year he played LSU, boom, then you turn around in the SEC championship game. But I still, man, going undefeated, really difficult. But I think Texas is, I'm not concerned. Sark is confident. He continues to get more confident. From a recruiting perspective, I love what they're doing. I know the talent these guys are bringing in. Quarterback room solid. I really like this coaching staff, the cohesiveness of this coaching staff. I like this staff as recruiters, the assistant coaches. They're on the road recruiting. I really like those guys as recruiters. I think the thing's headed in the right direction.
I'll tell you who's not headed in the right direction is my son. There's your super chat.
Thank you, Colt. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. That gets me half a piece of beef jerky on the next road trip. I love it.
He's literally in the dentist chair. I don't even know where to begin.
That's dedication on Texas football right there.
Oh, man. All right. Lee Andrew, 25. If Florida loses to A&M, do you think they'll be making a phone call to Jimbo Fisher?
Oh, God.
Why would you make a call to Jimbo Fisher right now?
No.
I mean, there's no redeeming factor for him. But I agree. I hear what you're saying.
It'll be a Sexton.
Eli Drinkowitz. I'm just saying, my phone calls would be Eli Drinkowitz, Lane Kiffin.
It's going to be a Sexton client, the next head coach at Florida. So just go down the list. He rules the SEC.
And then this one's for you, Jerry, from Jimmy Trevino. Jimmy says, do we still have a chance with Devin Sanchez and DeCorian Moore?
I think Texas, Sanchez always picks up the phone, but you got to get on campus. DeCorian Moore, I don't think so. I actually made a call on that yesterday.
Hang on, I got to text my son and tell him to quit spending money because with another super chat, I hate A&M Texas by a million. I'm sure all the people in the chat will get behind that, but my wallet's not for sure.
Money well spent, Cole.
Jose Rodriguez, thank you for the super chat. Jerry, I remember Jarek being an early 5-star in his class at running back. Why did he drop? And did you see this much burst in high school?
So I want to say this. I saw him in person last year. I didn't walk away from that game thinking that he was a 5-star running back. I'm still not sure he's a 5-star running back. To be frank, do I think he's a mid to high 4-star? Yeah, I do. I do think that. So he dropped probably because I didn't have a problem. I still don't have a problem with that. There are a handful of running backs. Do we have that list that ESPN put out of top freshmen, Blake, that we were going to talk about? I want to get into that, but I think Jarek Gibson's a really good player and going to be a good player for a long time at Texas. I don't know that he's a 5-star even at this point. I just wouldn't put him in that category. Jerry, do you disagree? I mean, he's made some nice.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm not. First, I'm going to go up what running back recruiting rankings are. It's it's the frame, it's the combine testing numbers, it's the production on Friday nights. So some of the running backs that end up being that level aren't going to be ranked that level. And I'm not saying Jarek Gibson is. That's to be determined. But what I am saying is about recruiting nowadays, if Emmitt Smith came out of high school today and he showed up at a camp and was 5'9", 180 and ran 4.7, nobody's ranking him high. Barry Sanders would have got dinged because he's 5'8", 5'7 and 3/4.
Emmitt Smith, though, was highly productive.
I know Gibson was, but I'm just saying, Bobby, he'd run 4.7 at a camp. Nobody would have ranked him high. You know what I'm saying?
He was the all-time leading rusher in the state of Florida, Jerry.
I know. I know. But he would have ran 4.72 at Nike, and people would have been like, nah, competition. I mean, it's so my thing with Jarek Gibson is the guys who are 5'9", 205, 210 pounds, they're how they're going to be really truly measured is at the next level when it's the instincts, the feet, the patience, the power, the compact power take over. I mean, Mark Ingram, lower 4-star guy when Saban got him out of Michigan. So those guys are going to tend to be pushed down in the rankings a little bit after camps and combine seasons when guys go out and blow out combines. That's just my opinion on running back rankings.
And then another super chat. The chat's cracking me up. Longhorn Frenzy 1 went back and watched the game. What I liked was how physical the offensive line is. They are big, mean, and nasty. Long time coming. I think everybody likes seeing them take up for Quinn, and there's no doubt about that.
Hey, and it wasn't just the starting. Cole Hudson was aggressive, had some knockback plays. DJ Campbell played a really good game on Saturday at times too. Hayden Connor, Jerry mentioned this last night. Hayden Connor may have had his best game as a Longhorn.
Yeah,
on Saturday. His physicality has improved year over year, and we go back to Kelvin Banks is an All-American, but I go back to Jake Majors. I mean, people were trying to find another replacement for Jake Majors 3 years ago, if you don't remember. And he's made himself into he's an SEC co-offensive lineman of the week this past week, according to folks. And I think this is a absolute huge piece of the puzzle is the fact that Texas has a 4-year starter at center. And so what Wink Martindale threw at Texas, all those different looks, Texas didn't look out of sorts. And I think the center has a lot to do with that.
Then another super chat just came in from Jarrett. He says, I wouldn't change Kenny Baker on staff, but for the sake of good convo, how much different does this team look with Bo Davis?
Two tremendous D-line coaches. I said when Kenny Baker was hired, spoke with a guy we've known for years. We've had him on the show, Nathan O'Neill, who trains a lot of the best guys in the NFL, gets guys ready for the drafts, work with Bosa's, Clowney, you name it, in the offseason. And he said Kenny Baker is a lot of guys come from the Pete Jenkins run game stuff. It's where they learn. Bo Davis did. Kenny Baker's a tremendous pass rush coach. That's Nathan O'Neill's opinion, who trains a lot of these guys in the NFL, draft prep stuff. He really liked Kenny Baker, but because of his pass rush coach ability. He thought he was tremendous there. And I think we'll see that as the season moves along. Both those guys, or especially as Kenny Baker gets his guys in there, both those guys are tremendous coaches.
Okay, Bobby, you were talking about that ESPN list, and this will be our closing segment for today. This is the top 10 freshmen through week 2. We're going to start here with number 1, Jeremiah Smith of Ohio State.
All right.
Dropped a couple passes, but okay.
And then you got Dylan Raiola from Nebraska, the quarterback, who I would definitely say has made an impact for them, followed by defensive end Dylan Stewart of South Carolina, wide receiver Ryan Williams, who Texas fans should be well aware of, from Alabama.
I mean, Ryan Williams had a touchdown against South Florida again, where that guy moves at a different speed with a football in his hand.
And then DJ Lagway from Florida at number 5, the quarterback. And then Ryan Wingo, wide receiver at Texas, at number 6. Nick Marsh, Michigan State at 7. Nate Frazier from Georgia at 8.
Should be higher. Frazier should be higher. Stud.
And then number 9, Anthony Knapp from Notre Dame, the offensive tackle at 9. KJ Bolden and Boo Carter. Bolden of Georgia, Carter of Tennessee, tied for 10th.
Look, I think you can say what you want, but Ryan Wingo is he's just a terrific prospect. Colin Simmons is going to end up being on that list over some of those guys. Texas had another terrific recruiting class in 2024. I'll be on record and say I'm not worried about Texas recruiting. That 2024 recruiting class, not only is Ryan Wingo as good or better than advertised, I wouldn't take Jeremiah Smith over Ryan Stewart. And I'm just telling you, or over Ryan Wingo, excuse me. There's no chance. And I've seen Jeremiah Smith. He won't run away from people. Ryan Wingo will run away. He ran away from all but one guy on the Michigan defense, some of whom had an angle on him, by the way. Jeremiah Smith is a really good player. Great. I wouldn't take him over Ryan Wingo.
I think Ryan Williams is fabulous too. I think that freshman class of wideouts is going to end up having a lot of high draft picks, by the way. A lot.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Lee Burke, I never saw anything regarding your super chat. So if you want, we can even touch on it tomorrow. You can send it to me through social media or post it in the chat, and we'll try to get to it today. Whatever it may be, even post it in the morning, but we'll definitely get you covered on that one. Bobby, what do you have coming later today right here on Texas Football?
What we've got is we got lunch with the coach. I'm going to talk with Brian Irwin and Bob Shipley a little bit later. We're going to talk what they thought things and how things went this weekend in Ann Arbor. Maybe take a little look ahead to UTSA. Jerry's and CJ are going to talk recruiting breakdown. I think they've got an interview with a player involved in that as well. And then we have the live stream tonight around 7 o'clock. Aaron Hogan hosts, Rod Babers and CJ Vogel in tow. Please also check us out at ontexasfootball.com. We got dozens of people joining the community each and every day. Come over there, have fun. Troy Kelly, thank you for sending that picture in, buddy. He's the one that the Connor Stallions picture as well. So appreciate you guys joining in and involving yourselves and rooting on the Longhorns like everybody else. It's great when you see a fan base galvanize behind teams, and I hope that's what is happening right now for the 2024 Longhorns.
And as Bobby said, thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. We would definitely appreciate that. We appreciate your support. And then you can ring the bell so you're notified anytime we go live or post content. That way you won't miss a thing. And if you can't watch us, you can also listen to us. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts and pretty much every podcast app out there. So you can just search for On Texas Football and find us there as well. Well, we will be back.
Hey, Blake, real quick. Did we get to this super chat or am I losing it?
No, I think I didn't even see
Good one to end on. This is a great one to end on.
It really is. It really is because that's what Sark started his press conference with yesterday, Jerry.
Yep.
Talked about how he didn't want his team. He didn't use the term rat poison, but talked about that and then talked about how well Quinn's playing. Love it. I completely agree with this. Not sure Quinn's spin it Ewers is the way, but I know this much. He is spinning the crap out of the football. He's doing that, guys. Hats off to him, man. Good for him.
Well, and my apologies to him because it did not even show up in my list on my side. That's crazy. I'm going to have to go back and look a little closer, but thank you for the super chat. And also a big thank you to Manscaped, HelloFresh, Autograph, and Duck Camp, all for sponsoring today's show. So now then, we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Hook 'em.